Hello again, Steve here, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about uh, virtue with regards to regret. And none of us, I would say, pretty confidently, nobody who's, at least attempts to be wholesome in their life, wants to have regret. I mean, not at least deliberate regret. I mean, there's things that we make mistakes sometimes, oversights and so on, and we regret it afterwards. But I mean, it doesn't feel good. Regret doesn't feel good. And so much of the quality of our life, that's what it's about, right? I'm going to use the example specifically of childless people, right? Specifically childless women, because I think it's more visceral for a woman, the experience of having children, and of course the experience of not having children. So the propaganda has been for the last 50 years or so for women, be men, basically. Be as much of a man as you can, take on the role of a man and don't be a woman. Because the essential aspect of woman is reproduction. That's what distinguishes us largely, physiologically, is our reproductive system. And to be healthy, to be holy, to be wholesome means to be more complete. And if we don't reproduce, especially women, then there's going to be a repercussion, right? It's one thing to have tried and to have not been able to. That's a different thing. That's to live with the contentment that, you know what, I did what I could. And I wasn't dealt the cards of a completely functional biology. My biology didn't work for whatever reason. And that's the hand we're dealt sometimes, right? Same for guys. Less so, but same for guys. And less so in terms of it's less likely to happen because men have a longer fertility window and billions and trillions of more sperm to throw away, basically, in the trial. And also, men are less physiologically attached and therefore probably less emotionally attached to the idea of having children. So for women not to have children is a recipe for regret. For most, unless there's something wrong with them, basically, psychopathic or something's a little bit messed up in terms of trauma or whatever. Because that's like saying, I'm not healthy, but I'm okay with that. And nobody of sound mind says that, because to not have children is to not have exercised in completeness the reproductive system, right? And we see that now. We see that it's not about somebody's opinion. I mean, you can look at the numbers, you can do the research of your own, that women are regretting in a big way now. They get into their 40s and 50s and late 30s and whatever, and they're, the amount of money that's spent on fertility stuff for 40-year-old women is just is through the roof, right? And the amount of alcoholism and the amount of antidepressants and anti-this and anti-that for women who are barren by now because they've squandered their fertility window. And not completely of their own fault. I mean, they've been propagandized into this idea that of the empowered woman is the woman who's not a full woman, right? A full woman is one who has children, because that's a biological system built into us is reproduction. So if we don't use that system, we're not fully living. It's like if we didn't exercise one of our arms, yet we had that arm. The arm would atrophy and we wouldn't have use of it later on, and we'd regret it. We'd say, well, why didn't I use this arm, right? It was there for me to use, and my life is more complete when I use it. If we don't use our reproductive system, we feel it. We feel it big time, right? And so I guess coming back to this, that was just the example of women not exercising the reproductive system, men not exercising the reproductive system as well, to its full function of having children, not just getting off, right? I mean, that's the idea of getting off and the pleasure of it. That's so that we will do it, because if it wasn't enjoyable, we would have no children, almost. So, anyways, no. But the key to this discussion, I think, and something that we can run through our minds is when we are virtuous. When, in other words, the origin of of virtue is like truth or goodness, right? When we are loyal to that, when we are loyal to what is good, what is true, and of course truth means the accuracy as we see it, but also fidelity to that. We use the term sometimes, somebody is true to the other person. That's a couple who's true to each other, right? So we're true, and we stick to what's good, and what's good is healthy, what's good is wholesome, and so on. We stick to that, then we would naturally exercise our reproductive systems and raise, to the best of our ability, some wonderful children. And I haven't met anybody in my life, or haven't heard of anybody in my life, who did that and regretted, right? There's lots of people who have kids and regret it, of course, because they're also unhealthy in some other way. They call it an accident or whatever. But those who deliberately go forth, love their children, raise wonderful children who love them, they don't regret that. It's the same as doing anything good. It's like somebody who eats well and exercises and has a healthy body into their older age and so on. They don't regret that. It feels really good. It feels healthy. Anything that's healthy, wholesome, virtuous, good, and so on is the antidote to despair and to regret, I would say. So something to think about anyways. See if you're good, great chatting. If you like what I'm doing, please like, subscribe, and share. We'll talk again soon. Bye for now.